You are in the ring with Héctor Colon, 7-time national boxing champion turned nonprofit president and CEO. Héctor knocks out the big issues facing social services today with high-impact leaders from around the U.S. In the Ring is a creation of Lutheran Social Services of Wisconsin and Upper Michigan and produced by No Studios. And now, here's Héctor Colon.
Hello, and welcome to In the Ring with Héctor Colon, the podcast that knocks out the big challenges facing the social services sector and the people we serve. I am your host, Héctor Colon. In the ring with me today is my dear friend, Laura Gutíerrez. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Héctor.
So share a little bit about Laura. She is the Chief Executive Officer at the United Community Center, one of the largest nonprofit organizations in Milwaukee, also known as UCC. Laura and I are both products of UCC, having gone there since we were very young. I started at 9. How about you?
Probably 9 or 10 as well.
Yep, we kind of had different groups of friends. She was with the challenging group. I was with the good group. No, just kidding. But UCC serves individuals ages 6 weeks all the way on to plus 100 years old in early childhood programs and also elderly care programs. UCC also operates one of the largest K-8 schools in the state, Bruce Guadalupe Community School and UCC Acosta Middle School, named after my good friend and my coach, Israel Acosta. Laura held several leadership positions with private and public education, including serving as an assistant principal and director of instruction at Bruce Guadalupe Community School. She also served as the Secretary of State for the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services, overseeing a staff of more than 250 and managing a biennial budget of $100 million. Are you ready for round one?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right, let's go, champ. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about the United Community Center and your role?
Yeah, thank you so much, Héctor, for having me. As you mentioned, I have the privilege of leading this transformative agency. As you know, it's impacted you, it's impacted me, and probably your children as well. I truly believe it is a one-stop shop where our vision is to have an empowered and thriving Hispanic community where all achieve their fullest potential. And we do that by providing a wide range of services that the community needs, anything from community development to arts. Education is a big one, elderly programs, and anything else that the community needs. We try to see, does it align with our vision? Does it align with our mission? And will it move our community forward?
That's awesome. And I had the privilege of serving as the Associate Executive Director, overseeing the elderly programs, and really a national model in terms of what you do on education and with the elderly. But I want to focus right now on your charter school.
Yeah.
Nationally recognized, you do great work. How does the charter school differ from the traditional public school model?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, I think what everyone needs to know is that Bruce Guadalupe schools, whether it's Bruce Guadalupe Elementary, K-8, or Acosta, are a public school. Where we differ is that we are governed by the University School of Milwaukee. So that is our authorizing body, where a traditional public school might be under the Milwaukee Public School District. So we really, the accountability, I would say the other thing that's very similar for us is because we are a public school, we are also held to the same standards from enrolling students. Anything that DPI enforces or asks us to follow, we have to do that. We do have some flexibility and are able to speak with UWM. UWM comes in, they do our audits, they make sure that our students are progressing. And so in essence, we are held to two different bodies from an accountability standpoint, University of Milwaukee, as well as DPI and our board of directors. So 3.
Wow, that's great. And tell us a little bit about how that aligns with the public school system. Do you work together? In what ways do you work together?
Yeah, UCC has always thrived on partnerships. Partnerships are very important for us. I believe that we all align together, regardless of what school you are, is our alignment should be focused on student success. How are our students doing? And making sure that we are removing challenges so that they are successful, both from an academic, emotionally, and social aspect, so that they are well-rounded individuals and can then flourish to decide whether they want to go to a 2-year, 4-year, or right into the workforce. So I truly believe that that is where we are aligned, is to be student-focused.
And you guys truly do an amazing job. I get really inspired when I go to your annual dinners and I hear about kids that end up going to Yale and Harvard.
Yeah.
It's pretty inspiring. Many are at Marquette University, so a great job at giving those kids great opportunities to succeed in life.
Thank you.
The Education Commission of States reports that there are 6 priorities governors across the U.S. identified in their State of the State address. They mention workforce development and career technical education, K-12 funding, teacher workforce, early child care education, academic achievement and literacy, and physical and mental health. Do you agree with these priorities?
I do. I think they are very important and aligned to a lot of the work that we're doing.
That's also, would you prioritize them in any specific way?
Absolutely. I would prioritize the workforce piece. I think when you look at the shortage of teachers, especially after COVID, many educators have decided to leave the classroom given all of the challenges that were posed during the shutdown. It is critical that if we want to continue to educate and create new leaders, we really need to focus on what can we do as a community from a state level, from a local level, including higher ed, as to making it more affordable. If you're going into areas or professions that really are servant leadership professions, and we should be valuing those, not only from educators, but there's a shortage in nursing, there's a shortage in social workers. All of those professions are instrumental and vital to the future of our children.
Absolutely. And I often say in this podcast that we have to pay our colleagues commensurate to the value they provide, the people they serve, those respective organizations, and the broader community. And so teachers, for example, I mean, their jobs are so important. And so that's something that we lift up on this podcast, and thank you for mentioning that as well. You know, one thing I'm a believer of UCC. I've made contributions to students that have graduated from Bruce Guadalupe and end up going to UW-Milwaukee. So it's a way for me to contribute to 2 wonderful organizations that have had a great impact on my life. So thank you for being there, and thank you for all you do.
And thank you. I think one of the great things that the UCC does that we do, and we have amazing staff that help this, is they get to know every student and client, whether you're 6 weeks or 106, to the point where they know what your challenges are and what your barriers are. So we really try to make sure that the child, as they leave our educational system and it's a high school, that we're placing them in the best high school that's going to challenge them and meet their needs, as well as a 2-year, 4-year institution or right into the workforce. And I think that is part of the success that helps transform what our students end up accomplishing.
That's great. Again, congratulations on all the great work that you're doing.
And thank you for giving back.
Yes, absolutely. And I love my dear friend, Ricardo Diaz, who has been a great mentor and supporter of mine. Obviously, Jose Olivieri, who was the board chair at UCC for decades, was our board chair as well. We know he has since passed, but his spirit lives through us, people that he has mentored. So we're so thankful to Jose and Ricardo Diaz and all the great leaders that have worked at UCC, including yourself.
Thank you.
So that's the end of round 1, Laura. How are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling great. Hopefully I nailed it. You know, us challenging kids, we know how to come back.
You're a fighter, no doubt. You're doing great. Now we're going to be heading into round 2. But first, a message from our sponsor, M3.
People today are at a higher risk of experiencing mental illness, housing insecurity, and substance abuse. Do you know the health of your employees, your communities? How can you step up your benefits to better address their well-being? M3 Insurance helps businesses see beyond basic benefits and support employees where they live. It's a meet them where they are approach that LSS delivers to their clients every day. M3 and LSS offer real solutions to now commonplace realities that strengthen employees and inspire communities to thrive. Test your employee benefit strategy now by going to m3ins.com.
Okay, Laura, ready to get back in the ring for round 2?
Let's do it.
Let's go, champ. The National Association for Mental Illness says that 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience a mental illness. 1 in 6 youth from the ages of 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder, but only about half receive any kind of treatment. What are you experiencing at UCC relating to these statistics, both for adults and for children?
I think I would agree with those stats. Looking at how our students and staff were affected after COVID, I believe mental health became more prevalent. You know, when I can remember being in the classroom as an educator or as an administrator and seeing the new economic hardship that is happening today, what prior to when I was in the classroom, you can see that our students are affected by that, right? They take on those stresses that maybe their families are feeling or their parents. And sometimes, you know, the students that we are assisting or that we serve or our staff are also dealing with added responsibilities, whether it's taking care of a loved one, a family member, or family members losing their home and now having to move in. That becomes complicated, and our students end up absorbing a lot of those stressors, which I believe then add to the mental health, not to mention social media. That has been huge, and I don't think we knew how much that would affect students or staff, and what those damages are, that now we have to take a step back and really educate families on how they can understand mental health, but also how can they be part of the solution versus seeing it as a stigma, seeing it as this is a situation that we as a family have to come together and really overcome.
Yeah. And stigma is big in the Latino community. We want to, not be very open about our challenges. And so I think it's gotten a little bit better after COVID. And I'm so thankful that we have a great partnership to help with the children that face those challenges, but also their parents and teachers. So our school center mental health model provides a therapist for that child, provides a family coach for the parents, with the understanding the better the parents are, the better that child is going to be, but also providing some tools and resources to teacher, because nowadays there's so much responsibility on that teacher. They are teacher, they are social worker, they are parent, they are crisis worker. And so those tools that we can provide and that partnership that we have with you, we think is great. And it's really important. And it's a successful model in addition to the great education you guys provide.
Yeah, I would say, thank you to LSS, to your team. You have been instrumental because you are providing our students, our staff, with the necessary bilingual resources. Many of the resources that your bilingual staff provide our parents allows them to really understand what their child is going through and how they can be part of that solution, as well as modeling what are some techniques that our teachers can use, because we'd love to have your staff there full time, Monday through Friday, but we know that we can't, and we know that the need is great. And so when they're learning those tools, they're able to replicate and use those so that there is consistency with the child, and the child can make the connection of, this is how I behave, or this is how I problem solve with my therapist. I can take these same skills into the classroom or at home to be able to do that. So really bringing that comprehensive model to our students is just a wonderful way to be able to continue to support them. So thank you for that.
In addition to the students that you serve, UCC serves many other populations. How do you address, maybe tell us a little bit about those programs and how do you address their needs?
Yeah, so, we have a lot of variety of programs, a lot of different age groups that we work with. And so I'll give you one of our most vulnerable populations. I always think everything we do has a vulnerable population. It starts with our early childhood education program. Really investing in our children and bringing the parents along to educate them is huge. So having parents engage, what does that mean? How do you engage with your child? How do you build that relationship with your pediatrician to have those conversations and be proactive versus reactive is a great way to do that. Human services is another area, and that is where we help clients reach sobriety, whether alcohol or drug. And that is a very vulnerable population. But again, bringing in that mental health component and just meeting the clients where they are, I think is key. So something that we've invested in is social and emotional curriculum from 6 weeks all the way to high school and beyond, and really having partnerships that allow adults. How do you meditate? How do you just sit in nature? We partner with 16th Street Community Clinic as well. We partner with the JCC, really to expose our clientele to other avenues of how to decompress and how to maybe find your zen to say, it's going to be okay. This might be a challenge here. If I ask for help, am I able to overcome that? And then how do I move forward? Because tomorrow is a new day.
That's great. Those partnerships, including the partnership we have, are necessary. We partner with lots of organizations. We can't do it all by ourselves, and so it's good to be a partner with an organization like yours that is doing great work and wants to really make a difference, and understands that you can't do it all by yourself.
No, we can't. We really have to provide resources and services that we can. So for example, for our personal staff, letting them, educating them on what is your health benefit in regards to this? What resources do you have there? But also going beyond and saying, let's do a Wednesday wellness day, right? So at noon, you can come work out, you can go for a walk, eat healthier. Those are the things I think that we can continue to look at. If we can provide the resource from a UCC standpoint, are there other organizations such as yourself that we can refer? And you have been amazing at that. I know I've called you on a couple of different occasions to say, there's this particular family. Can LSS assist with that? And I think that's the beauty of working together and really understanding what other organizations can provide and do. I think we, as well as leaders, just have to ask for help so that our community can continue to thrive.
That's great. And a focus on our colleagues is so important because they're giving all of themselves to serve the individuals that we serve, our respective organizations. So we have to make sure we give back to them and make sure that they are doing well so that they can not only do their jobs better, but feel very happy and very productive. So thank you. So that concludes that round. Subscribe to In the Ring Podcast now on YouTube. Like, follow, and share on social media and wherever you get your podcasts. Doing so will allow LSS to expand our reach and message so others within our sector can benefit from these important conversations. Let's go, champs. Are you ready for the final round?
Yes.
Let's go, champ. So what is your vision for student success over the next 10 years?
It's a great question. I would say our success would be to continue to support our students academically, socially, and emotionally so that more of them can reach the middle class. They can be financially stable and continue to build or start building generational wealth and really make a difference for their family as they move through our educational system.
That's great. I always like to hear Ricardo Diaz where he says, if Latino were a stock, I'd buy it because significant growth, whether you see in the educational system, at the university level, in our workforce, it's Latinos. So there's a lot that we need to do to make sure that they are successful, because they are the future generation
Correct.
of future jobs, future population.
Yeah.
How will you measure impact for your students, their families, and the broader community through your work?
That's a great question. I think the way we would measure the success is by continuing to uplift our alumni. So a year ago, we had our first alumni event. We had over 70 amazing alumni. They came back. It was like their first reunion. And everybody in there was just so proud. They had either served in our military, they had, were working, were entrepreneurs, had reached 2-year or 4-year degree. And it is just something that I think we need to continue to help them make those connections in our community so that they can either be leaders and continue to give back. So, I'll give you a quick example. One of my first classes of middle school children, they're now in their 30s. They are having children and they are choosing UCC for their child's educational journey. That to me is success. When they are saying, I was successful because of what UCC put in place and the high expectations they had, that I want my child, now second generation of kids coming through our pipeline, that measures success. When we have students that you talked about that come back from Harvard and are working at Baird, Northwestern Mutual, some probably at LSS, that to me is success, because they are beginning their trajectory on being engaged citizens that are making a difference. And it's critical for other future leaders, and I call our little babies, 6 weeks and above future leaders, to see other Hispanics who are successful, that maybe came up from a similar upbringing, impoverished with parents who only spoke Spanish, to see, hey, they were able to overcome those challenges. I'm able to do that too. And how do we continue to mentor them to say, yep, you have to be a bit resilient. You're always going to have challenges. Somebody's always going to be smarter. But this is who you lean on to move forward and make a difference.
That's great. And UCC has had a history of having just great people. I mentioned Ricardo Diaz, Jose Olivieri, my coach, Shorty, Israel Acosta. The person that I haven't mentioned thus far is, and she's a dear friend of yours as well, Dora Acosta.
Right.
She's like a second mother to me. I lived with her and Shorty when I was 16 years old for a year. So they loved me, they fed me, and made sure I could be a champion both in and out of the ring. So I'm very, very thankful to her and all of those individuals I just mentioned.
And she was my boss when I was 15.
Yes.
And so for me to have someone that looks like me in a successful position that took you under your wing, you're right, I still talk to her once a week.
Yes.
She is one that knows me and will set me straight. If I call her to say, am I on the right path here, or am I taking this too personal? She will, she will let me know. But I think that's what the UCC does, is they solidify these relationships that, here we are at our age, and still keep in contact with people that made a difference. And they are willing to continue to mentor you, regardless of how many years we've known us, as well as put us in our place and say, you're not doing enough. There's more that you can do. And so I think that that's critical. And, I would also mention Walter, Walter Sava, who was one of the first ones as well, really looking towards how do you provide access to the Hispanic community and hold them to high expectations and standards, because everybody, regardless of what race you are or what economic background you have, you're intelligent. You just need to have the nurture and the nurturing environment, I should say, as well as those high standards and expectations, but also a champion on your side, right? That can say, okay, you fell down, get back up.
That's right.
How are we going to move this forward? And so I think that's critical.
That's great. Yeah, Walter, shout out to him as well. He's a friend and mentor of mine as well. Going back to the vision, you have a big vision.
I do.
What are some of the greatest barriers that you feel you have in realizing that vision?
I think like any other nonprofit, I would say that right now it would be the workforce. Again, everything that we do for our clients are licensed professionals, right? So whether I'm talking about early childhood educators, K-8 educators, nurses, social workers, counselors, all of those are licensed professions that are a barrier right now because we don't have enough in the pipeline. So how can we work together from either corporate, state, and higher ed to really say, let's come together and think creatively and outside the box. How do we solve this problem? I mean, back, 30 years ago, there was a teacher shortage. This is why I left corporate to go into education. And it was an opportunity and one that I don't regret. I think we need to become proactive to be able to do that. So that would be a big challenge. I would say the other challenge that affects nonprofits is, the finances, right? Making sure that you are getting the proper donations or that you're being supported from a philanthropic standpoint, because everything that we do is probably grant-based. We're not a corporate where you have revenue, and we shouldn't, we're nonprofit, but you also have to look at this from a business perspective to say what makes sense. So being able to pay, as you mentioned, our staff who are passionate about nonprofit work, who are passionate about servant leadership, that is important. So being able to balance that, I think it only bodes well for the community and for Milwaukee and our state.
You touched on this, and we talk a lot about this on the podcast, is we need to operate like an enterprise. We are essentially a business.
Yes.
And we have no margin, no mission. And many of our colleagues, because of our contracts with government, are not paid commensurate to the value they provide. So we do have to find ways. We have to be innovative. We have to be creative. And we have to be advocates to get the higher levels of reimbursement so that we can pay our staff, again, commensurate to the value they provide, because they are doing great work that's necessary to take our communities and our country forward. I
would also say, or add to that, Hector, that you are absolutely correct in that, but it also affects the quality of programming, right? And it shouldn't. And so I would say that nonprofits are the best at stretching that dollar to ensure that quality does not get compromised when you're doing that, but so often then our workforce may.
That's the end of round 3. But before I let you go, it's time to see how you roll with the punches. Try to answer the following questions with the first things that comes to your mind. Here we go.
Okay.
What is your favorite traditional dish? Something passed on from your mother or grandmother?
Pozole.
It's one of my wife's favorites as well.
Hopefully people will know. If not, Google it.
Yes, great. Do you prefer snow-capped mountain or beach vacations?
Beach vacation.
Nice. I agree with you on that one. What is the best advice you've ever received, professionally or personally?
Take the risk.
Good. What is your favorite artist? Any medium, music, dance, etc.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say any Latin music.
Okay. Mine is Mark Anthony.
Maluma.
Good. What is your game plan? Final question. What is your game plan for spreading the word about our sector and some of the needs that we discussed here today?
That's a great question. I would say that our game plan is to continue to have vital conversations like you and I are having now, and really continue to not be as humble about the great work that we're doing. So really showcasing our alumni. When I run into a store, when I'm in a store and run into the amazing, successful alumni that have come through our organization, I think we need to continue to highlight that more so that others can see the great work.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, keep going, champ. You're doing a great job. I'm so glad that you were able to be on my podcast, and don't give up, champ.
I won't. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to our partnership.
As always, you can find all of our interviews on our podcast website. Subscribe to In the Ring on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn so you don't miss any of these important updates and interviews. Thank you again, Laura. And thank you to our sponsor, M3. Con mucho cariño, with much affection. Bye.